How do you make a break? I went to college, and I wrote. I came out to Los Angeles after I went to Northwestern University, and I came out, and I knew someone who worked at the William Morris Agency, and I gave my script to her. She was some lower level kind of an person there, and then she read my script, and she had no idea what she was doing, but she gave it to her boss, and he gave it to his boss, and up and up and up and up, and they liked it, and they laughed, and they signed me. And then, meanwhile, I'm sitting around in my apartment watching Cubs games and Green Acres reruns, doing temp jobs all over Los Angeles, living in a fraternity-style kind of apartment. And what I did when I first came out, this might be good. When I first came out, I did a lot of temp jobs for TV production companies. I said, I'll do anything for you, and they gave me jobs doing. I was a runner for different sitcoms, so I learned the format of what a sitcom does. They got me jobs. They got me in to see how tapings are done, and I could see the whole workings of TV, which is kind of cool. And that gave me a broad idea of what I thought I get myself into. And then eventually, I had a lot of really, really horrible jobs. I was on unemployment for an awfully long time, and I drank an awful lot of beer. And then then they gave my script, finally, the agent gave my script to a show called Women in Prison. Thank you very much. On the fledgling and upstart Fox network. And it lasted for 13 weeks. Thanks again. And then that was my first job. It was kind of cool. And then that was with the same studio also did Who's the Boss with TV's Tony Danza. And I did that for a while. Then I did some other show that no one has to know about. And then I did The Wonder Years after that for a season. And then I did a show called Nurses. And then I got into Roseanne, which is probably the best show that's been on TV for, I think, for the past 10, 15 years. It depends on the show you're writing for. If you're going to write a Full House episode, you might not want to do the big abortion episode. But if you're doing Roseanne, which does tackle issues of blue-collar life and real family relations, then cut loose. But it all depends on what you want to do, what kind of show you want to write for. No, you shouldn't edit yourself if you think it's good, if you think it's smart. You know? But that's a big... Is it smart? Is it good? I don't know. No one will really know until someone pays you for it. And then it becomes bad. If you want to write for a sitcom, I'd get on stage and I'd see if I'm funny or not. I'd see if I can make a bunch of people laugh by material written by like Neil Simon or Oliver Goldsmith or Chekhov or whatever. See if you can get a group of people who you don't know to laugh. And then you might go, oh, okay, I'm funny. Next step, try to improvise something. Try to be like maybe do some improv, like Second City kind of stuff, and see if you can make people laugh that way. You know, if this is for comedy, because basically you can do a story, but if you can't make people laugh, then it's kind of pointless. Then I would write something. I would write I wrote when I was in high school. I wrote a lot of sketches and stuff for basically to put me on stage more often. But I would write stuff that would be some comedy stuff and see, boy, a bunch of people laughed at my words, not just me get up there doing it. So it was a big transition. When I was in college, I wrote my first thing that I wasn't a part of, and I was sitting in the audience watching actors do my little sketch, and it was kind of cool. Everyone's like laughing at my words, and I wasn't a part of it for the first time. And it was a kind of a cool anonymous feeling, like, you know, I'm pretty cool. because I wrote what they're laughing at. You'd be amazed how far you can go being able to make fart noises with your hands. Watch TV. Watching TV is great, but I'd watch good TV. I'd watch things like The Dick Van Dyke Show. I'd watch The Mary Tyler Moore Show. I'd watch...
Why?
Why? Why would I watch these shows? Because they stood the test of time. They're smart. They're character comedies is what they are. It's not just... there are some shows that are... an example. I don't want to offend anybody, so I can't think of anything. But there's some shows that are just wacky, silly, goofiness. Fine. But to really hone your skills and to know if you want to be a writer and not just do a Bob Hope skit, I'd watch the shows that were considered smart and intelligent and stood the test of time with great characters. Watching, if you can get a tape of Rhoda's wedding, when Rhoda got married, it's an amazing episode of great characters doing it, and there aren't jokes going on. It's not just bump kind of jokes. It's characters meeting each other for the first time, or situational stuff that is really amazing to watch people play off of each other. That's what you want to watch. I'd give the first few seasons of MASH a try. What other good shows are there? Bob Newhart Show. There's some other ones. What else? Lucy. Roseanne. God, watch Roseanne. Lucy. Sure, I'd watch Lucy. Fred. Fred walking in a nightgown and a night hat. Nothing funnier. Roseanne is a good show. Shows that have really good characters and don't go for the joke all the time. I think that's probably your best bet, to watch those kind of shows.
Hi, kids. My name is Larry Charles.
And my name is Larry David.
We're from the Seinfeld show. They should turn off the TV also.
Yes, that's one good piece
because
of
otherwise
advice.
they'll be just writing about stuff they see on TV. And a lot of bad writing today is because people are watching what's on TV and then they write a TV reality instead of their own reality. They have to experience life. If you don't experience life, you have nothing to write about. So to write a second Beavis and Butthead or a second Seinfeld, that's a waste of time. They have to write from their own experience. Or their own imagination, whatever that is.
Yeah, travel, whatever.
Yeah,
don't
experience.
Work. I would advise them not
experiences.
to work until they have to.
Right. Don't have to. If you don't have to make money, don't.
Until their parents cut them off.
Right.
You know, I would say, you know, just keep taking the money from them.
And just keep writing also.
Yeah.
And don't write necessarily TV scripts. Write anything. Write a diary, write a journal, write a short story. You know, that'll help you become a good writer, more than trying to write a spec Seinfeld or a whatever. You know, the form is secondary. It's the content that counts.
I think that they should not edit themselves at all. If they think it's cutting edge to begin with, they should probably push it even further, because let the producer or let the network or whoever, let someone else edit it, and you should push it as far as you can. I think that's the writer's job, is to you know, find it all. And then, you know, if the sponsor doesn't want to put that part of the, doesn't want that to be in the show, then you have to cut it. But there's no reason for you to edit yourself, I don't think. And I try not to, and, you know, the boss doesn't always care for that. But I think the writer's job is to do as much as they can and push the envelope.
Hi, my name is Deborah Pratt. I was co-exec producer and head writer for Quantum Leap, wrote 22 episodes. And I want to say to you the same thing that Han Solo said: never tell me the odds. It's not about odds. It's about believing in yourself and being good. As far as writing for episodic television, it's a killer existence, but very rewarding, much so in the fact that you get to see your work very fast. If you have a show that you really love, that you get in and you watch every episode and you understand the characters, you understand how the structure breaks down, so at the end of Act 1, you know all the problems. At the end of Act 2, you've met all the characters. At the end of Act 3, the hero looks like he solved everything and it's fallen apart. And at the end of Act 4, he's gotten it together and he's solved everything. Well, that's pretty much television structure for action-adventure television, and I'm sure you've learned all those. But the key thing is understanding the characters. You have to understand the characters and how they work and how they talk and why they decide the things they decide. And sometimes it's very hard for a writer who's on the outside to come in and try and understand that, unless you are a true fan of the show and have watched enough episodes to know how they think. My advice to you is to write. If you're a writer, write. Write as much as you can, as often as you can. Use any and every excuse. And when the time comes to get your work out here, be persistent. Use your aunt, use your uncle who went to college with whoever. Use whatever resources you have to use. Hollywood loves a clever person. And the more clever you are, the more chance you have of getting through a door and getting your material read and getting yourself seen. And it's tough, but you don't think about that. You think about the thrill that it gives you to sit in front of that blank page and create a world that nobody else has thought of because it's your mind.
Hi, my name is Phil Robinson. I wrote and directed the films Field of Dreams and Sneakers.
And I'm David Toohey. David Toohey, I wrote The Fugitive this year.
And this can be a very cruel place, and it's a cruel place that attracts lots of people who want to make it here. And there are talented people who never get a chance. There are untalented people who do. Life's unfair, and Hollywood is no exception to that. I generally don't encourage people to get into the movie business because I think there's enough encouragement out there. I think what you need is a little dash of cold water once in a while to realize if you don't really, really, really feel that you have to be in this business, do something else. Do yourself a big favor. Find something that you love and do something else, because it can be very cruel and it's real tough, and most people never get a shot. The first thing I would say is start with story and decide then what is the most appropriate way to tell that story. It may not be a film or a TV show. The story you have may be much better suited for a book, for a play, a short story. Work from that standpoint and then decide how you want to develop that.
I would say several things to new writers. One is that the secret to writing is writing. I mean, a lot of people have great ideas. Every time I take a taxi cab ride to the airport, I run into a guy in the front seat who's got a great idea, but the only problem is that he can't put it down on paper. Unless you can put it down on paper and execute the story, then you're not a writer. Then you're not a screenwriter, and you'll never have a chance of being a screenwriter. So what you got to do is like set office hours. And one of the main problems that people have is that they're waiting for the inspiration to strike them to write. And you can't do that in this business. You've got to set office hours, and you've got to put it in 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day of writing. And only then can you call yourself a writer, and only then can you turn that story into something that is marketable out there. And
how did you break in?
Just by writing 8 to 10 to 12 hours a day and being just doggedly persistent.
Did you always want to be a writer?
Yeah, a writer. I always wanted to be a director, so I saw writing as the avenue to directing. So, I mean, it's an obvious avenue, and it's... and I just did it, you know. And you got to write like you have no mother, too, is what I found out. You know, it's just like you can't try to please the people in the past. You just have to write from your heart and from your soul and all of it.
Your first desire to be a writer, was it to be a film writer? Or were you, as a kid, were you writing stories? Or?
Yeah, I took a short story class, and there was a teacher who took me aside and said, you know what, there may be something here. And that was all I needed to go off and just like be a writer at that point. So it's like I was looking for that one moment of encouragement, I got it, and I was off to the races. What about you?
I always wrote. As a little kid, I'd go to my room and write stuff. And I never actually wanted to be a writer, but I wound up becoming a journalist because I was interested in current affairs and politics. And I realized after a while that the reason I was doing that is because I just loved writing. And at a certain point, I sort of went into documentaries and then educational TV, and I wound up making these little films, and then I thought, well, as long as I'm going to make films, I should try to go the next step. I should try to get into TV or features. And I usually don't have original ideas for stories. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's what I'm best at. I think I'm good at seeing something in a story that I think I can adapt or shape.
Field of Dreams was a novel first?
It was a novel by a Canadian author. And
called something else?
It was called Shoeless Joe.
Right.
And a lot of people who read it said, I love this book, but you can't make a movie out of it. And I just thought, it seems to me like you can make a movie out of this.
Had anybody tried to make a movie out of it? Tried to write a script on it before you?
No. I was the first dumb one. I was the dumbest one to take a crack at it when everybody else was saying it can't be done. Oh, you will never have a better learning experience than in your salad days, when there's no money, when there's not enough money to do it right. There's not enough equipment to do it right. You don't have the right people. You have no support. You have to do it yourself. You will learn more about editing, props, music, camera, lighting, scheduling, you name it. It's the best. And when you get to the point, if you're lucky enough to get to the point where bigger and bigger productions are being made of your scripts, you will find as a writer you become less and less involved in that unless you become a director or producer.
Yeah, it's a good primer in guerrilla warfare, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think every production devolves and breaks down into guerrilla filmmaking at a certain time. So it's a good primer for that, but it's not necessarily an entree into Hollywood. I mean, just because you're making that film, that $5,000, $10,000 student film, doesn't mean that Hollywood is going to open up its arms for you. You may want to have something else to back you up with that, and you may want to have a solid script. You know, a script and a movie ain't a bad idea to have.
Hello, my name is David Koepp. I'm a screenwriter. I wrote the screenplay for the movie The Paper, The Shadow, and I co-wrote screenplays for Jurassic Park and Death Becomes Her, and Carlito's Way, some movies of the last couple of years. So some of you want to write for film and television. I think that's a great thing. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't think it was a wonderful thing to do and an admirable pursuit. I think by far the hardest part of writing for film, since that's what I do, is writing the screenplay itself. Everything else, the business end, the agents and producers and all that kind of thing, will sort of sort itself out and will seem easy by comparison to the act of writing a good screenplay. There aren't very many people who write good screenplays. There are just precious few of them in Los Angeles, in Hollywood. I had a screenwriting professor at UCLA who used to say, if you write a good screenplay, you could leave it in the middle of a freeway. Somebody would find it, pick it up, produce it, and probably screw it up. Which I think is true. There just is not a lot of good material out there. So concern yourself with writing good characters, writing a well-structured piece of work, and just beat your brains out writing the screenplay, and the business end will sort of sort itself out. I think what will separate your screenplay from all the other mediocre ones out there is how much of you put into it. And to my mind, that's the good news, is because the most individual and precious thing you have going for you is yourself. You're a bundle of experiences and feelings that no one else has. And the more of yourself you can put into your work, the more you write about things that you really care about, instead of writing about things that you think other people will care about, or you think other people will want to see, or are like other movies that people have seen, the more you will be distinguished and made individual. And that's really, with all the material out there that there is to read, that's really the thing that everyone looks for, is something individual and something special. And I think, to me, that's truly comforting, because to know that there's no one like you, and there's no one who can write what you can write.
Hi, my name is Ann Kenny. I'm a writer, co-producer on LA Law. I've worked on LA Law for about 3 seasons. I wrote for Civil Wars, which was another law show, and I started out by writing for a sitcom called The Pursuit of Happiness. Well, I mean, I think that they should, in terms of writing, they should be thinking about what's important to them, what they want to say, so that you can write from that place. I think that it's hard to try to write to what we call writing to the market, that you think, oh, well, like a movie, oh, well, they're making this kind of movie now. If I write that kind of movie, they'll make it, unless it's something that you really feel strongly about. And the same with TV shows. There'll be a lot of one thing, and then somebody will do something like Northern Exposure, and that's different, and then everybody wants to do Northern Exposure. So I think it's important to have faith in the things that you're interested in and that mean something to you, and to write about that sort of thing.
How did you get your lucky break?
Actually, I was a journalist, which I think is a great background for a writer. It helped me to listen to people. It helped me to hear how people talk. So I've used that a lot when I'm writing scripts. And actually, I got my lucky break. I read an article about a man named Michael Whitehorn, who was from Long Island, and it was in the Long Island newspaper. And I was still living in New York, and the article said that he would read unsolicited manuscripts And so I wrote him a letter. He was out here in Hollywood. He used to write for Family Ties, and he had a new show on. And I wrote him a letter and asked him if he would read my script, which he did. And then he didn't like the show I wrote for a Newhart spec, but he said he would read another script. And I sent him another script, and in the interim moved to California, and about 3 months later he hired me to write on a sitcom. So it was quite a lucky break, it really was. But based on that, I would encourage kids to not feel like the only way you can do it is, oh, I've got to get an agent and I have to do this. I would encourage you to pursue whatever avenue. If you know somebody, if you read something about somebody, I mean, well, all they can do is say no. So write them a letter, you know, try to make a phone call, whatever, because you can get in any number of ways.
One of the most important areas of your success as a screenwriter is going to be in attracting an agent to represent you and your work. To start out this section of the program, I would like to introduce you to the first of 5 literary agents we interviewed. Leslie Kellen of the Leslie B. Kellen Literary Agency.
Hi, I'm Leslie Kellen, and I am a literary agent. My agency is called the Leslie Kellen Literary Agency, and I work a lot with screenwriters, in particular long-form feature writers, television writers who do movies of the week, and of course for cable also, which means I'm not a specialist with sitcom writers. One of the specialties that my agency has, what my agency is about, is breaking in new writing talent. So for this video, I feel like I'm qualified to talk here to some degree, because the first rule is that there are no rules, and everybody breaks in a different way. And I certainly can't have no 2 clients that have broken into the industry in the same way. I also do a lot of screenwriting seminars all over North America on industry topics, many of the topics being screenwriting. And so I have been able to, and had the good fortune to work with people and associate myself with people who teach, who are in the screenwriting education game, and have traveled from Toronto to Vancouver, San Francisco, and feel very, very linked. Austin, Texas, where I'm on the board of the Austin Writers League, has several hundred members, and all the other wonderful writing groups in North America. So I feel equipped to feel linked to other writing communities outside the Los Angeles area as well. And you don't have to be from Los Angeles to become a screenwriter. That's positively a rule if we're looking for rules to hang our hat on. So that's what I do, which is 2 things, and I feel very. They feel very integrated and connected to me, the seminars and the agency.
Hi, my name is Ken Greenblatt. I am a literary agent here at Media Artist Group. I've been here for a few years, and I was asked to tell you all about what you should do as students now if you want to be screenwriters or TV writers. I think I could recommend a few different things for you. Obviously, the first thing that everyone will probably tell you is become a student of the craft. Make sure you really know how movies are written and why they're good and what makes them exciting, that kind of thing. There are a lot of different ways to do it. One is you really need to go see a lot of movies. You need to rent a lot of movies, and this is a homework assignment that is really not a bad homework assignment to receive. But in doing that, make sure you understand what has happened in the first 5 minutes, then what's happened in the second 5 minutes, then what have we built about our main character. Along the way, make sure you understand exactly what the process is and what the progress is. That's an assignment that will take you actually a lot of time to really learn. It's not as simple as it sounds. You need to understand the rules just like in this, like you would in everything else, so that you know how to break the rules eventually when you do want to make your own screenplay. But it's very important to understand what works and why it works. What you can also do right now, which could most help your career as a screenwriter, would be to read a lot, to write as often as you possibly can, to write absolutely anything, and to not get discouraged about it. But what I wouldn't recommend you do is, for a while, don't embark on the major screenplay. Don't embark on what you think is going to be the lifelong passion. Embark on bits and pieces of that. Embark on the scene where. Try to piece together a number of different things that you can start doing now in small, doable bits and chunks. The idea of writing an hour and 40-minute screenplay is a bit overwhelming. So don't even attempt that at this point. In fact, what you want to do too is you want to come up with a number of different ideas that you can be working on all at the same time. And that makes people confused often, and that's okay. I think that when you're learning how to write, you need to be as confused as you possibly can be, and then you'll find how it eventually works out for you. The other thing that I would really recommend is one of the things that separates good writers from excellent writers is dialogue. You want to be able to make your dialogue sound authentic and crisp and real. You need to listen to you and your friends and to everyone, the way that they speak. But the real thing that can help you with that, and something that I would highly recommend to all writers out there, is to get involved with the school play, to get involved with any kind of theater that you can get involved with. Acting actually is the way that people write better dialogue. It's a very strange thing, and you might not have imagined that at first. But if you are a good actor, one of your things as a good actor, one of your assets by being a good actor is that you can hear the way that people speak. So listen very carefully to the way people speak, and make sure that what you will find is, except for in a situation like this where I'm the only one talking, you'll find that people don't talk in full sentences. You'll find that people don't talk in more than one sentence generally, especially in a dialogue. It's very hard to get any voice in there, and generally what the voice that is in there is only about 3 or 4 words at a time. That's in a heated, excited bit of give and take. You want to be able to understand that and hear that. Dialogue is also one of the things that's easiest to see on a piece of paper if it's right or wrong. And it will really inhibit you if it's wrong in terms of making it in this industry. People thumb through a script, they look and they see big chunks of dialogue and they say, oh, this person really doesn't know what he's doing. Dialogue should look crisp, it should look clean. The other thing that I would recommend that you do is, especially in the summers if you have some time, to find screenplays. And there are a number of different ways to get your hands on screenplays. One of them is to contact the local universities that offer classes in film and TV, that kind of thing, and ask them if they have a library where you can find some screenplays. The other way is if you happen to live in Los Angeles, there are stores in town that sell screenplays. If you don't live in Los Angeles, what you can do is contact the Writers Guild of America, which has 2 offices, one in New York and one in Los Angeles. Contact them and they will give you a list of places where you can find some screenplays. But read screenplays. Read screenplays to movies that you've seen and that you've loved, and see how it was written. How was it that we got a bit of action translated into a bit of film? It's a very important thing to learn how to do. And pretty obvious too, but you really want to become a full student of this craft. You want to be able to know what your references are. That if somebody says to you, this is really a script that's just like X, you better know what script they're talking about. You have to be fluent in this language. It's very, very important.
Hello. My name is Gary Salt. I'm the president of Paul Kohner Incorporated in Los Angeles, California. We are a theatrical and literary agency, first founded and opened in 1938. We are representing a diversified group of clients in the film and television industries, ranging from actors and actresses to authors, publishers, writers for television and film, directors, some producers, and musical composers. What I'm going to specifically be talking about for the next few moments are issues particular to those of you who are interested in writing for television and motion pictures, and how you begin to prepare yourself for that kind of a career, and what you can expect and what you need to think about long term and maybe short term, from those of you who are currently in high school, going on to college, or maybe not going on to college, in the way of getting yourself ready for this kind of work. Now, assuming that you have decided that you want to pursue this kind of a career, what do you do next? You're looking at films and television, probably on a daily basis. Some of you may be thinking to yourself, this is real junk. I can do a lot better than that. Some of you may feel you already have done better than that with your own writing. This is a common sentiment among a vast number of people. Anyone who watches television for very long, inevitably, if you're a thinking person and you have a brain in your head, you can't watch hours and hours of television without coming to the realization that much of it is mediocre and even worse. Television and its general content is not there. The rationale for its existence is not there as an education tool and to advance the cause of human learning and human perfection. It's a commercial enterprise. And the first thing you must realize when you enter into this kind of work is that it is fundamentally the intersection of art and commerce in a way that many of you may not have experienced before. Writing is an art form like sculpting and acting, but writing for television and film, if you're going to make it a profession, you have to recognize that there are different rules of the game. As a profession, you're now part of the commercial world. And these two apparently contradictory impulses need to reconcile each other. You need to make accommodations for both. It's certainly more than possible, and it's always desirable, that the best writing and the best work can also reward you financially and with prestige and other kinds of rewards in the long run, and usually it does. Television, when it is very, very good, it's the best that you'll ever see. Programs that win awards, programs that move people on issues and ideas, reach vast numbers of people through television programming. So it is too simplistic to simply dismiss all of television as simply a narcotic for all of us to watch endlessly. When it's bad, it's terrible. And I think we all recognize that. Generally speaking, agents are representing the interests of their clients professionally. We try to find work. We solicit employment for our clients. We negotiate their employment agreements. We negotiate with the producers in the studios on their behalf, and we are always looking out for their interest. It's like any client-principal relationship. Your family probably has such a relationship if your father or your mother has an insurance agent or an insurance broker, or if they have a stockbroker, or if they have an attorney for the family that has looked after the family's business or legal matters for many years. That relationship is that of an agent and principal. It's similar to exactly what you have when you have an agent and you're paying an agent to represent your interests. He or she is there to represent your interests 100% of the time. As in the real estate business, there's a fixed general compensation level of 6%. In the film and television business, it's 10%. That is, the agent is paid 10% of the gross earnings that you receive from your work that they negotiate for you. And in some instances where you're selling or representing book material that does not fall under the jurisdiction of the unions, many agents commission 15%. But for the most part, it's fixed at 10%. And that's only paid if you receive money. Agents do not bill you for their services. They only earn their commission when you, in fact, are earning money. So out of 100% or out of $100, $90 of it is going to go to you, and $10 is going to go to the agent. This is a safe, easily policed relationship. You can always know exactly where you stand financially with your agent because you're not paying them any money unless you're getting money. So the economic relationship is on a very fundamental level, and it works.
Yeah.